When you truly understand the level of evil in the world today, then you must understand the only equal and opposite force can be God.
One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
Well, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
Shocking new video out of Los Angeles shows just how bad America's crime crisis is getting. A mob of almost 50 people ransacked a Nordstrom store at a mall. Look at that. This was over the weekend. The group took $100,000 worth of luxury goods, and they did it in broad daylight. Police say that some of them used bear spray to attack a security guard, and there are no arrests yet. And in crime-ridden San Francisco, they are facing what economists call a doom loop. One big brand name after another are leaving downtown after some claim they were being robbed as often as every 10 minutes. That's 6 times an hour. The crime and homelessness are so bad that government officials have told hundreds of employees at the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building to work from home for the foreseeable future for their own safety. Griff, that Nordstrom's, my husband grew up in California. He said to me today, I've been there so many times. I probably stood in that very spot. It's unbelievable.
It's bonkers. And by the way, it's not lost on Nancy Pelosi that the federal building named after her is the one where they're telling people crime's too bad to even come to work today. And it's really Democrats we're seeing in city after city. And, when I saw this topic, I was like, I just tweeted out on Friday afternoon, D.C.'s police union. It's not just California in the failed state they've become there. In D.C., for the first time ever, every crime category, violent crime, murder, arson, robbery, sexual abuse, every single category is up right now.
Yeah, it's this backward liberal logic, Lisa, where Newsom says, let's lower the penalties for theft under $950. D.C. carjacking's up. Let's lower the penalties for carjacking.
Well, because somehow pursuing law and order is racist, and we're still suffering from the Ferguson effect. Well, justice is no longer blind. The politicians keep injecting race into everything. And we're still suffering under the Ferguson effect where, Michael Brown went and robbed a store, tried to grab a police officer's gun, but somehow he was innocent because he's black, and the police officer was, the racist involved, and he was the wrongdoer. And we've seen this since in all these incidents with Jacob Blake as well. And so
that's police reform.
Well, no, exactly. And they've cut budgets. They've removed, plainclothes police officers from the street, all under the guise that somehow pursuing criminals is racist.
Harris.
Yeah, I just want to be chosen as the crime victim rather than somebody choosing the criminal to get the benefit of the doubt, no matter what the skin color. And you're right. I mean, justice isn't blind now. It's also aided by George Soros's money. And it's decided that the victims don't count anymore. And look, at the end of the day, how do liberals want this to be? I mean, is this where they want every city in America? And I'm sorry, we will not go quietly into that night. I hope they know. You've got to fight this. So why do they think that we want to jump on this train as a country? Where are they taking us? What's the end game?
And it happened at that very Nordstrom's in 2021. So this is the second time, Emily.
I know, as a long-suffering Californian who had to suffer under Gavin Newsom as mayor of San Francisco and then enjoying his time as governor, it's such a slap in the face for all of those decades that we saw our businesses deteriorating by his regulations and lack of enforcing the law. His dad before him as a state judge who, for example, after the Chowchilla entire school bus was kidnapped and buried alive, he called it a youthful stunt and let the guys out of jail. Gavin followed in his footsteps. It is a slap in the face for me to hear him now say, my biggest gripe right now is we're not prosecuting the lawbreakers in San Francisco. I want to see people held accountable for breaking the law. You know what, Gavin Newsom? That's what every Californian has been saying for years. So you do something about it.
Black people kill black people. They don't come out and do this crap. The only time they do this crap is when a white person touches them. They're the racist. It's wrong for a white cop to kill a black person, that's for sure. But if it matters, it should matter at all times.
So what are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? You are not here to fight injustice. You're here to cause drama.
It's not about blacks. I am black. I'm not oppressed. I am free.
That's good for you. That's an individual person. What about a systemic issue?
I do what I want. You have the skills. This is a country where you have the skills. You want to do what you want. You do it. Stop forcing on people to accept that they're oppressed. They are not. I am not oppressed. I am black. Violence is wrong. Period. It's not about blacks. The blacks kill blacks in black neighborhoods every single day. I've never seen a Black Lives Matter in those neighborhoods. But if a white person kill a black person, Black Lives Matter. Stop the hypocrisy.
Why don't you start?
I'm not carrying anything saying Black Lives Matter. I know I matter.
Eric Sell. Andy, tell us what the defendant's lawyer said after this verdict was reached.
Well, it was actually before. It was in her closing statements. She mentioned that resistance is not peaceful and that she was going to be getting a shirt that declares I am Antifa, and that she is retiring and will remember all of the faces of the jurors. It was a very tense week with a near media blackout because of security incidents that kept happening. The jurors expressed to the court, who then expressed to the parties, that they were really afraid for their safety because of repeated incidents that were happening both in and outside of the courthouse. Before the deliberations, the court ordered that the identities of the jurors would be sealed because of apparent attempts to identify the identities of the jurors. So this was the context of the trial for the 7 days.
Now, defendant Elizabeth Richter and John Hacker, Eric, I want to ask you as the attorney in this matter. I mean, their private text messages became part of this trial, but in the end, the jury decided that, you know, what those contained, and they were spotting whether Andy was in the vicinity or not, obviously getting ready to, you know, proceed with whatever they were going to do to him. And somehow the jury discounted this?
It's truly remarkable the amount of evidence that the jury must have discounted to reach its not guilty verdict, or its verdict here that the defendants here weren't liable. And it really leads to the conclusion that jury intimidation was a factor here. It's a little unclear to us to what extent these jurors were intimidated, how this happened, what form it took, but the court did inform both parties of the day of deliberations that the jury was concerned that they were being threatened or potentially doxxed, or there was going to be some kind of repercussions if the verdict did not come out the right way here.
On Tuesday, self-proclaimed black supremacist teacher, first grade teacher, Danielle Allen, was fired from her position at a school in Texas over a series of anti-white posts she shared on X, formerly known as Twitter. These posts, okay, you're warned. Actually, I'm going to leave out the bad ones just to make sure we don't get demonetized. But I'll explain what they are. And by the way, she goes by the name Claire Kyle on Twitter or X.